Question. My question is on undiagnosed autism in adult women. Growing up, I always had social anxiety, but I thought it was something that was circumstantial or perhaps I was particularly tired in some instances. However, recently as an adult in her late 20s, I had an experience where I could not physically be in the same room to socially interact with 7 other people. I was so physically frozen, uncomfortable and afraid. I just couldn't even say any words or greet people. I had to excuse myself and not join the plans after. And I felt terrible and embarrassed about this. After this incident, my husband and I realized how extreme my social anxiety is and how much people I can tolerate in a group setting, which really isn't that much. Is there a spiritual reason why we may have certain handicaps in life like this? I have not even been diagnosed with autism before, but I'm starting to feel like it is probably the explanation for why I behave like this around strangers and groups of people. Well, I'm not an expert on autism at all, but I know a thing or two about social anxiety. So if you watch a selection of my videos, including some of my breakthrough videos, what I always talk about is, in our subconscious mind, we have these reactionary patterns. I call them subconscious selves or separate selves. And they were often created in the past, often in past lifetimes, in very traumatic situations. So in something like this, what immediately comes to my mind is that you have been exposed to a very traumatic situation in a past life in a group setting, possibly where you were attacked, possibly even killed, or at least put down and ostracized by a group of people. Perhaps because you didn't fit in, perhaps because you did something that was not the norm or the culture in your society. And as a result of that, you created these subconscious selves. And they have probably you probably added to them over several lifetimes. So you created more and more of these selves. And it's simply that in certain social situations where you feel, and it can be individual what you feel, so you need to tune into that in your own mind, but you might feel that you're under attack, you're at risk, you are embarrassed, you don't fit in, whatever it may be. But when there is that feeling, these cells are triggered. And obviously, as you're describing, they can become so extreme you can't even be there anymore. And I understand this. When I was younger, I had situations where I just simply had to go. I could not deal with it. I felt overwhelmed by other people. And I actually, when I was younger, I avoided large groups of people. I really didn't want to go along with the crowd. I didn't want to go party and drinking when my friends in high school or classmates in high school did that every Saturday night. And I didn't want to go to parties because I didn't like being in this big group setting where it's almost like you are overshadowed by this group mind. There isn't room for your individual mind anymore. And I very much dislike that. And so, when you feel this strongly, when you have this strong of a reaction, it really is trauma from past lives. And I think you would benefit from watching my entire playlist about avatar psychology, because I go in depth in there about how many spiritual people, we came to Earth to do something positive, and we were often very severely put down by other people. And I think really that you could benefit from that, and then you can use some of the tools that I talk about. They're in my websites, but they're also in my breakthrough playlist to identify these selves and overcome them. I think also in a situation like this where it's so extreme, you would benefit from invoking spiritual light from the Ascended Masters. Protection, calling to the Elohim Astrea to cut yourself free, protection from Archangel Michael, and then the Violet Flame Decree to transmute some of the energy that's stored in these selves. Because it's really, when you look at it, there is a self that reacts to this group situation. But what makes it feel overwhelming is that there's energy that's flooding your emotional body in the situation, and that's really what makes it so uncomfortable. You just have to leave. You can't be there. So when you reduce that energy, there won't be as much of a pull on it, and that also means it becomes easier for you to look at. What you need to discover basically is what exactly is it you feel? What is it that triggers you? What is the belief that you have about yourself and what other people will do to you? Because there's something you fear there that other people will do to you, and you need to discover that. And it may take you some time, because this sounds like a really strong reaction that very well could go back to what I talk about in the Avatar Psychology playlist, where I talk about our original birth trauma that we received when we came to Earth. It's created what's called the primal self, which is a self that colors how we look at ourselves on Earth and look at ourselves in relation to other people. So I think this is not a condition you can't overcome. It's very much something you can overcome. But I also realistically think it will take quite a lot of work for you. And you might really, at some point, benefit from going to some form of therapy when it's that strong of a reaction you have. But I do think that on your own, by using these tools I'm describing here, you can definitely make progress on it. And then you can see where it takes you. My basic message here is that I understand that it feels like very difficult and overwhelming to deal with, but I have dealt with problems like this myself and overcome them, and I know many people who have overcome them as well. So you can too, I guarantee you, but it will take work. And it will take a willingness to look at yourself and maybe even discover some uncomfortable beliefs you have about yourself and other people and social situations. But if you're willing to do that, you can definitely overcome this.